My lower body is very hamstring dominant. How can I switch focus to quads/glutes?
Interesting.
Knew it. I knew you'd like this one.
I wasn't. I was expecting you to say, "How can I switch my focus to quads, not quads/glutes?" I mean, it really depends on what the goal is here, right? If like the goal is to have as much muscle as possible, and you also want more balance, continue to train your hamstrings at like more of a maintenance volume and add more training volume to your quads and glutes. In addition to upping the volume, having body parts that you care about more earlier in the workout and prioritizing them that way within each session is going to help you grow them more. So having more, more quad dominant exercises and even like glute isolation exercises earlier in the workout is going to be beneficial. Yeah. Train the muscles more that you want to grow, and don't train the muscles as much that you would rather not grow.
You know what's interesting is I've had this question crop up more frequently recently. And I even had a conversation about it with a guy who works out in the same gym as me. And he definitely grew up in the same era as you and I did of strength and conditioning, in which everything when we were younger was about the posterior chain.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything, the number of articles written on the posterior chain and how everyone is quad dominant and knee dominant.
Mm-hmm.
And so they went with and when I talk about fitness industry being on a pendulum of extremes, the fitness industry just swung to it the other side. That was like, we're only going to train the back. And you can find so many articles of people being like, you should train the posterior chain to the anterior chain at like a 2-to-1 ratio. Like you should be training your back 2 times as much as your front. And they completely swung the other direction. And it was funny because at that time, there were real issues with people only or majorly training the anterior chain, like the front of their body, like whether it was the pecs and the shoulders or the quads and all that, and not doing anything for the back. There were some real postural issues, injury issues, all of that. Now I'm seeing a lot of issues with the backside being way overdeveloped and the front side way underdeveloped. And I was talking about this with a guy in the gym because he saw me doing front squats and he was like, what the fuck? He was like, dude, your technique is so good. He's like, I can't do that, da 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 da. And he's like, I think what really screwed me up is like, I've only been training my posterior chain. He's like, my RDLs are great, my cleans are great, all this stuff. But he's like, but I can't squat for the life of me. And I was like, well, do you squat? And he's like, no, I've only done like this just because I've been told that I need to do my posterior chain. It's like, man, it really did swing. And I think it's starting to come back a little bit now. And it will be interesting. That was very much when like postural and corrective exercise was the kingpin in the fitness industry. That was like when all that stuff was really making a name. Now I feel like bodybuilding has really come back in full force, and muscle hypertrophy and getting bigger is the big thing right now. I do think that the next one will probably go back to powerlifting or maybe Olympic lifting. I think we'll see a shift towards there within the next few years. But yeah, to answer the question, it's just if you want to work on your quads and glutes, then I don't know, lunges would be a good idea. Bulgarian split squats would be a good idea. I will say, you said, go to a maintenance volume. I think it's good to have like some numbers. You could do 1/3 of as much volume as you're currently doing and maintain very easily. Mm-hmm. So like just drop your volume for your posterior for your hamstrings by 2/3 and then increase the volume from the other exercises and you're good.
Do you see a lot of, because when you were, like I said, I wasn't imagining this person to say glutes were suffering as well. Do you see a lot of people with overdeveloped hamstrings and underdeveloped glutes?
No. I just think that's probably coming from people and specifically more women than anything, really wanting to grow their glutes, and it's like almost like not enough.
She's probably decently balanced, but sees like 50 BBLs a day in her feed, and might have like a slightly unrealistic expectation of hamstring to glute like visual ratios.
Yeah, seeing all these like highly edited and
Twisted
genetically
sideways.
outrageous, yeah, like all this stuff where it's like that's just not what a normal butt looks like. There's a little bit of droop in the bottom of it. Like there's like unless your genetics are insane, like or you've got a BBL or whatever it is, or you've gotten a great editor on Photoshop, like there's usually a little bit of a little jiggle.